Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new camp build. So, for today, I'm kind of working off of an idea I've had from a couple of recent builds. So, I've recently built a couple of sort of house-type camps, and as happy as I am with them, I have noticed that I tend to spend all my time when I'm sort of in regular gameplay hanging out in the shed. Basically because that's where my workbenches are. And that does mean that the rest of the camp kind of doesn't get a look in. So, as happy as I am with those designs, I thought, let's take this the other direction and build something that is centered on the workbenches and that will have the whole space being used on a regular basis. So, to that end, we built a kind of workshop down here in the Ash Heap, and I think we've pulled it off quite nicely. Got plenty of detail and got a nice little sort of living space tucked in as well. So, taking a look at the map, as I say, we're down in the Ash Heap. You can see where we're hanging out there. And we've got abandoned mineshaft lane there, Mount Blair train yard, Horn Site 4, Mount Blair. So yeah, sort of on the southwestern side of the mountain here, but we are quite a long way actually up the mountain. That little sort of line of mountains on the map there will give you an indication of where to look. As will that dump truck, because that's obviously already in situ. And yeah, got a nice little flat spot here. It's not big, but it's more than big enough, and we can sort of squeeze in quite nicely beside the dump truck, which kind of goes with the vibe of the build anyway. So, foundations up first, as is oft the way. And yeah, 2x3. It makes quite a small build and works quite nicely. I'm just going to drop this down a little bit lower. I think we can get it a bit more snug to the ground without any clipping. Nice. So in a lot of ways, this is kind of going to be a box, although we're going to put a sloped roof on it, so that'll take the edge off a lot. And a lot of the decoration we're going to do is going to make it a little bit more 3D than that. So decoration and detail going a long way to make it a little bit more interesting. Kicking things off with the basic warehouse set. This is a vanilla set, but obviously lots of decoration of Atomic Shop stuff later on. Got an extra doorway in there that I will come back to in a moment. And in the middle here, we're going to put double half walls so that I can have windows a little bit higher up so they don't get in the way of my workbenches. And there we go. That is the core of the walls. Let's put some wall top arches on to the diagonal corners. I need a doorway at the front here, even though I want it to be open when I'm done. Sort of. Because I need something to support those triangle pieces. But one of the things I need to support it is a roof, because I can't move the wall out from underneath, even when it's a door, until I've got a roof in. Once I have, because it's a door piece, I'll be able to move it. There we go. Do that across. Voila. Grab that other wall piece. Oops, if I get the right one. It's the wrong way around. There we go. Now we take the doors out. We've got a big old gap. I could use the roller door here, but I want to do something a bit more improvised. I want it to look like the structure was already here and has been sort of repaired and taken over and restored to working order sort of after the bombs had dropped. So we can go something a bit more rustic. Staircase on an upper floor here because I want to put a post in a place it won't snap to on the foundation, but it will on the upper floor. Normally, that's because I want it on the corner. In this case, I actually want it in one step from that. Going to grab a plank partition. I'm using this one specifically for the big post on the left. In hindsight, should have probably pushed this whole thing further left and then boarded up the resulting gap on the right. Then I could use that post more as a door frame, which was what I had in mind. Didn't end up actually doing that though, so yeah, the results that count, and I'm quite happy with that, so that's the main thing. So, we need to board up this gap here between the wall and the post. And obviously, we haven't got a proper surface to build on, so wall decor it is, but only some things will play nice and actually snap there. So, we'll have to scroll through and sort of pick and choose what will actually work. A couple of signs on the front here, though, going to help us dress it up, make it a bit more interesting. Blacksmith's one for starters. Some of the ghoul signs, yeah, those are working quite nicely. Probably going to be a bit drafty. In fact, the whole thing is definitely going to be a bit drafty, but, you know, maybe ghouls don't worry about that sort of thing. So, we're going to now move to texturing things up and making it a bit more three-dimensional. The walls in particular are a bit more three-dimensional, so it doesn't look quite so boxy. And it works quite nicely, this little trick. So, first up, chunk fence, flipped around and up against that partition wall, gives it a bit more depth. Do the same on the side here, mixing up the materials here. So we've got a wooden one on the front. Let's use a corrugated steel one on the side here. And we'll grab a plank partition. Yeah, we could do that on the end here. This one, I'm actually going to flip it around. You could do it either way. I had a bit of a challenge persuading it to sit as close as I wanted it to here. To look like it's kind of adding a bit of extra depth and sort of stability to a possibly not that stable wall. which will work much better if I flip it around. Just like this. And now we get it in a little bit closer. There we go. That looks better. Just a little bit of fine-tuning required. As always. Nice. So we'll jump over to the next corner and use some encampment fences. These are a bit on the raidery side, perhaps, so optional, but you can use kind of any fences really to do the job with this. These ones are great because you turn the snapping off and they'll sit one on top of the other, just like that. The flickering is not ideal, but it makes for a different kind of tall structure. And I've got one more junk fence on the back that I will move out later there. So we're going to use this chain link and just sort of narrow this gap down a little bit here where our doorway is, which is why, as I said earlier, I should probably put that initial partition further across, but the chain link will kind of sort of do the job eventually. So destroy the fences that are currently in the way, and we can sort of merge the two together. Now we'll grab a responder sign. These are atomic shop items, but they're really good if you just need a bit of plywood, so I'll pick them up for that alone. Plus, yeah, texture, always good. So that closes the gap up top. I've spotted the gunsmith sign. I think we'll slide in there quite nicely. Not at that angle, though. I mean, it does kind of look like it's improvised, but it's not really what I want. Let's just get it out of the way in a minute. And we'll move the blacksmith sign just up a little bit, which is going to be a bit difficult to do, but it will free up just enough room to get the gunsmith sign in and make this area a little bit more three-dimensional, a little bit more textured, and a bit more interesting to look at. There we go. Nice, look at that. So, now we can move on inside and start thinking about what we want to do with the interior. And obviously, I'm not going to do the whole thing here, otherwise we'll be here all day, but I can give you the general idea of the layout of the place. Let's change these floors out. I'm going to use the dungeon floors for this one, basically because I like the texture, to be honest. I think it looks good for a stone option. Looks a bit more rustic and stuff. So this is where our little sort of bedroom living space sort of thing's going to be. Mostly bedroom, I suppose. And I'm actually going to partition this off using workbenches and a few other bits of furniture rather than walls to give it a kind of improvised vibe. Like everything's just sort of built up around it. So, chemistry station on the right there. The power armor station here is going to act as a door frame and also a power armor station. So that will give us sort of best use of space, I think, that way. Which, as we will see in a minute, is not something I've got an overabundance of when I've got the final job done. Which is what I want. I want it cramped and busy looking, so it looks quite nicely there. So we're going to add that locker on the side, kind of try and nudge the power armor station over a little bit. To be honest, I probably should have destroyed the power armor station and then place stuff around it rather than trying to move it out of the way and then destroy the locker. Just because the collision would have worked a little better that way. But we manage anyway. Doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, perfect would kind of defeat the point. Let's get that on the correct line, though. I do want that right. Not too bad. Just repair the locker there. And now we can put some extra bits and pieces on this side. So I tried a few different bits and furniture to kind of close this gap here with. I did a set of shelves and the filing cabinets. Filing cabinets are kind of like, but in the end I needed somewhere for my ammo box, so they came out and got replaced with the ammo box later on. If you don't have one of those, or just want to do it differently, then the filing cabinets are quite good because they're reasonably easy to place, and you can also place stuff on top of them and kind of build stuff up to kind of close the gap higher up if you want to as well. So they work quite nicely there. So with that in, let's chuck a rug down. And we'll stick a bed in that I'll actually end up changing my mind on, but it'll give you a general idea of what we're going for with our rustic kind of bedroom tucked in the corner vibe. And once that's in, it'll be time for me to head off and do an awfully large amount of decorating and turn this place into a complete camp. So, by movie magic, I'll see you in the tour in a second. And there we go. One completed workshop. And yeah, going for it was already here and has had a load of stuff dragged back and added to it vibe. And I think it's come together quite nicely. Simple structure, nothing fancy really going on with it. It's not complicated at all. I've got the corrugated roof from the abandoned mine shaft kit, which you could use entirely in here for the same kind of effect if you wanted to. It would certainly fit in the ash heap. But I decided to mix and match a bit here. Electron, just little bits of texture, details, the stuff that was just kind of abandoned next to the building. Just makes the whole thing feel a bit more three-dimensional and gives it a bit more life. The wall spikes are perhaps a little weird, but they kind of lean into the ghoul thing a bit, so, you know. Tell Wasteland bad guys that maybe they want to think twice about picking a fight with the homeowner. Just never a bad thing in the Wasteland. There we go, fixed bits and pieces on the side. So I get a look down the edge here. Move one of the boards over to the side there. Just see my turret on the top of the dump truck there, because my camp unit is around the side there, so I get fairly regular scorched attacks coming from that side, so having a turret there to just warn me and to kind of keep a bit further away is not a bad thing. I put 2 sets of curtains here, just to kind of close up the door a little bit, make it feel like you can keep at least some of the weather out. I don't know, maybe clip them shut or something. Getting through, of course, is a bit of a problem when you're going slowly. You need to go a bit quicker, and then you're fine. But we are inside our little workshop. Lots and lots of bits and pieces, lots of junk on the walls, and just stuff that's been dragged back and added to. Some of it's going to get broken down and made into other stuff. Some of it's going to become, stuff to throw knives at, that sort of thing. I have never before used this Mr. Handy cooking station, and I quite like it, and his commentary is really amusing. But if anybody from Bethesda is watching, it is extremely annoying that the voiceover lines on that Mr. Handy are tied to the sound effects slider, not the voices slider. So I won't use it in a future video just because it's really annoying from a sound standpoint. So it's a cool thing, but to me also kind of annoying at the same time. Anyway, shoehorned in my workbenches, we can get around all of them. They are all functional. There's actually still some room for extra stuff in the budget if I wanted to add extra details and stuff. Pueblos, Curios, Pueblos, yes. Curios sign really works quite nicely to kind of add an extra bit of height to that internal wall, which I quite like. And it kind of closes off the bedroom a bit better. More bits of scrap and junk and stuff, which I always like. I did have to smash my Tinker's Bench there in order to tuck the fermenting unit in as close as I wanted to, but it worked quite nicely. Yeah, keep on going. I should have put a mat down in front of that workbench. Oh well. Just break up the floor texture a little bit. Yeah, this is one of the things with this. You just keep adding little bits of detail, more if you want. Especially as it's so small a build, and the furniture is actually quite limited in some ways. You can keep adding little snippets of detail for days if you really want to. There's a lot of budget for that. So here's our little living space. The idea here is sort of repurposed furniture to make the bed and a sitting space, and we're sleeping on a couch here. And we've also got some tapestries and the pit flags up there, just to give it a kind of softer, sort of comfortable, homey vibe for the living space, you know, rather than just having hard bare metal out there, which works fine for the workshop vibe, but we'll change it up there. Some chems there, got a lamp that I guess they've made out front or something, a little bit of radio to listen to. Somebody obviously paid them here, so that's my theory anyway, that they're out in the sticks, but people come and travel down because they want to take advantage of this person's skills at building weapons and things and the like, customizing stuff. That's why the bag of cash is there, because they made some money doing some work for somebody. That sort of internal logic to the build. So out the back here, we've got a few more bits of junk I've just kind of stacked around. Not quite so much, but a few bits. And we've got a toilet, and we've got the shower as well. It's a dump truck again. Yeah, just makes the place technically functional as a home. Nothing overly fancy. My solar panel there, and my clear weather machine, so that we can actually see what I've built. The Ash Heap does have very atmospheric weather, but if you actually want to see the build, a bit problematic. Yeah. You know, out back, I could probably chuck a whole load more stuff out here to make it look like stuff's just been abandoned there. Got a towel there for when you step out the shower. You can keep doing stuff like that, adding little bits of just random junk to really kind of flavour it up and tell stories with it if you want to, I suppose, as well. Like, I've got this impression that they're making weapons and stuff for people and customising them and using bits and pieces of stuff they've dragged back to do that, breaking down toys and all manner of other bits and pieces. And it creates a little bit of a reason for the camp to be here, which I quite like. But it's far enough out of the way that hopefully people who don't like ghouls very much won't stop by very often. And we've got a vendor there as well, because you've got to have a vendor, and the robot's quite fun. Oh, I thought about using the tills, the cash registers, but I felt a bit of variety would be nice. And there we go. One workshop camp in the Ash Heap that I'm quite pleased with. Hope you guys liked that one. Hope it gave you a few ideas, got some inspiration. If you liked the video, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I very much appreciate. Social media links and channel memberships down below if you want to support the channel that way. I very much appreciate that as well. It really, really helps out. So huge thanks to everyone who's done that. And if you get a chance, join us for live streams as well. Apart from 76, we are also playing Oblivion Remastered, and we're jumping back into Atom 4 at long last, which I'm really looking forward to. And some interesting stuff in the summer ahead as well. So join us if you get the chance. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.